Protesters took to the streets of Manhattan today, calling for the firing of the officers involved in the beating of upstate New York inmate Robert Brooks.
CBS News New York just learned Governor Hochul visited the Marcy Correctional Facility where Brooks was killed and announced some immediate changes. Alan Devlin has the video of the attack, and we want to warn you, it is disturbing to watch.
When we allow that to happen, we say that we're okay with the denigration and the devaluation of black life.
Calls for justice today in the shadow of Governor Kathy Hochul's office. Protesters marched, signs in hand, demanding action against the officer seen on body camera footage beating upstate New York inmate Robert Brooks.
Seeing a black brother like that, being beat like that, being lynched, that is disturbing.
The video released Friday of the brutal December 9th beating from inside the Marcy Correctional Facility shows officers repeatedly punching, kicking, and dragging handcuffed 43-year-old inmate Robert Brooks. Brooks died a day later.
The justification is not there. You can't hit a suspect that's handcuffed.
Former NYPD investigator Felipe Rodriguez says the video is shocking and there's no excuse for the officer's actions.
It's going to be very difficult for them to justify the use of force. Anytime you use, every strike has to be justified. Any discharge of a firearm has to be justified. Otherwise, you know what, you did it incorrectly.
The series of 8 videos released to the public playing a pivotal part in the launching of an investigation by the New York Attorney General's office and calls from Governor Hochul for all 13 officers and a nurse connected to the beating to be terminated.
We will use every possible tool available to us to investigate this death thoroughly and swiftly.
Today, Governor Hochul visited Marcy Correctional Facility seeking answers in Brooks' death and immediately implemented new changes, including naming a new superintendent and expediting $400 million towards new cameras facility-wide. Today, as I stood in the room where Robert Brooks was killed, I was once again heartbroken by this unnecessary loss of life and further sickened to think of the actions of depraved individuals with no regard for human life, said Governor Hochul in a statement. CBS News New York has learned 3 of the 13 guards implicated in the savage beating of Robert Brooks have been accused in lawsuits of earlier attacks in New York prisons. All 14 Marcy staff members have currently been suspended without pay pending the investigation. There have been no formal charges brought against the officers yet. In Manhattan, Alan Devlin, CBS News, New York.
Well, an official cause of death for Brooks has not yet been determined. The autopsy results are still pending.
Welcome back to Breakdown Friday. Joseph Ward, Patrick Irvin, Professor Carl Tone Jones. We're going to do things a bit different today because we're breaking down this Robert Brooks murder that happened, as you can see, December 9th, 2024, not too long ago. Just learned about the story not too long ago. This is body cam footage from Sergeant Glenn Trombley. And this video doesn't have any audio, so we're going to be able to give our commentary while we watch the video, and then we're going to continue as we normally do, giving our commentary. But, you know, before we get into it, make sure after this, you go to FetLifeStation.com. Make sure you check it out, FetLifeStation.com. Check out Professor Carl Tone Jones, office hours with Professor Carl Tone Jones. If you didn't go to office hours in college, now your time to go. And he going to have way more information and substance for you, so check that out. Make sure you go to thepax.org to check out our collaboration as a whole from the information that we put on. And Pat has put a great deal of information on there. Make sure you check out ontheshoulders1.com. Make sure you like this video, comment, and subscribe. So let's get into it. This video starts where I believe they're bringing Robert Brooks into the detention facility, and Robert Brooks was also serving time for a crime that he committed, but dang. So here we go. And so this is when they first have him, they're holding them in. And it looked like they already had them roughed him up already because he.
Damn.
You said they carried him, right?
Yeah. So what did he do?
What
are they accusing him of doing that initiated all of this?
Not sure what initiated this, but he's serving a 12-year sentence for assault.
So he's already been convicted?
Yes. Yes, he was already convicted. He's in the detention facility.
All right. So these are COs.
Yes. And it's 16 total. It was 16 people total, 15 officers and 1 nurse.
So this is the detention facility.
Yes. And as you can see, as they move inside, you're gonna be able to see that you're gonna see more of the facility, of the, I guess, the medical area of the detention facility. But you see, it don't look like the hospitals we go to.
No. And so they had him his arms up in restraint like that to prevent any sort of freedom of movement whatsoever. But I'm wondering why, like what happened to trigger that the need to detain in that manner.
And see, investigations are going on as of right now. And we do know none of the people involved have been arrested. And it just, whatever, this officer's camera keep going out. So they have the black spots. That's the officer's camera. But
well, I think it seems like the camera is in passive mode or action mode. So it only like activates when there's a certain amount of activity going on in front of it.
So just to let the viewers know, you can see they got it. Yeah.
Okay, so why okay, so then they're striking him repeatedly. Why? That's what the investigation is for.
Right. Why because the excessive force that they went through for this.
You can already see he's already been bludgeoned.
Right, and he's bloody.
So all right, so I saw some of the back. I saw this video before, which is why I had a little trepidation, because typically speaking, I don't really care for what I consider trauma.
Right.
It's just watching them, because I think one of the issues I have with it is more so watching, getting comfortable watching videos of us being tormented, tortured, and then eliminated, and the visualization of it, because after a while you see it enough, and we've seen it enough to the point where we become immune to it. We become desensitized to it, or it'll trigger us. And my biggest issue is not necessarily with the videos itself. It's the fact that this is no longer really about bringing awareness to when we see the videos plastered. And I know there are certain people, I know people on Facebook and Instagram that are posted and for a reaction, not the reaction we're doing here, but for a reaction in regards to I don't know whether looking to trigger a response or whatever from the public.
Yeah.
Because it's, like I said before, it's no longer about awareness.
Yeah.
And what we're seeing right now is a man who is helpless. Right. He's already in restraint. And I'm not sure what they're asking him. I'm sure for a fact stuff like this goes on in prisons. I know people. I was affiliated with Move here in Philadelphia. So I know when members of the Move 9 were released from jail, the stories they would tell about the things that would happen to them in jail and in prison. I've had family members who served time with them that can corroborate this story. So, the real questions that come from this is, and we have people who do advocacy for a situation like this. It just, I don't know, it stirs a lot of things up. And plus I'm empathic. So I internalize a lot of this stuff. And I'm one of those people that when I see things, I want to do something about it. And I'm not talking about the stuff that we can actually talk about doing something about it.
Right. Like, look at that. Look at that. Just jack that man up like it's nothing.
He's the smallest person in the room.
And helpless. He can't do anything to defend himself at this point. And they just he jacked him up by his collar with just one hand.
Yeah. Go ahead, Patty. See, so
this is crazy, man. But now you're right. I mean, we don't need to get used to seeing this over and over and over and over. But the sad part is we already have. And that's where you're getting at. And that's what you're saying. That's what you're explaining. Like it's already been set, the path that we're consuming all of this content, and you know, because we talk about it like at least once a year where the media will sensationalize a death of a Black person, and then Black people go crazy. And you know, it depends on who get involved and how big it get. You have different people in the streets rioting, all these different things, tearing up stuff, whether it's in that neighborhood, other people neighborhood, people unnecessarily going to jail, all these different things. And then all of that just to come right back around the next year and do the same thing. Because as PC just stated, there's no real outcomes, because nobody really does what we really want to do. And the problem and the hindrance to that is we can't do that because we're not in a position to do that, because you have to have your stuff together and be organized and, you know, united to do those things. You know, those two like words, you know how Black people about those words, organization and unity, you know, we like to run from those words. But once again, this is a unfortunate case that has happened to a Black person. And the best thing that we can do is just cry out.
Well, yeah, because when we see it, right? And I was in New York a week or so after Alton Sterling was choked to death, and I was in Harlem. Matter of fact, we were in Harlem a lot. 131 is 131st and Lenox, and I spoke on that. And I spoke on the fact that we just sit here and let them and we let them do it. And this is why being a nationalist is so important, Black nationalism, because, and I don't really think people understand what it really means. People just think you just hoist the flag, red, black, and green and stuff. But to be a nationalist is to actually be a part of a nation. And when you're a nation, you can hold people accountable. When you're ruggedly, excuse me, when you're ruggedly individualistic as we are, you can't hold nobody accountable for doing stuff like this.
Right.
So, you know, you go back to the early 1920s, and there were lynchings of Italians in Louisiana. And America had to issue a declaration of an apology to Italy, because Italy was ready to go to war over the fact that some of their citizens were lynched in the South. So the government, American government, had to answer to that. We don't have anybody that we can make answer to this. And we appeal to the ones that are actually doing it. And most people are afraid. And see, like you had the situation in Dallas in 2000, I believe 2017 or 2016 with Micah Johnson. He responded in a way, right? He took on the entire Dallas Police Department and had them shook. Took down 5 police officers. And they had them cornered. They didn't even have the gumption or whatever to go after him. They sent a machine or robot, with an explosive to take him out. So incendiary device.
That was the father, right?
No. Michael Johnson was he was more so responding to all the police killings that occurred that summer.
Okay.
So that was the summer. That was right after Alton Sterling. Mike Brown, and you know, it was a few other murders, right?
Yeah.
And So I wasn't really prepared to talk about them. So the names are not coming to me.
That's all good, but you know, we know it was a host of other ones.
Right. So, we the bottom line is they don't. That was his response. And it shook up America enough that several people were investigated by the feds. I know that the feds went out because the guy said he liked hitting colors. So the feds went and investigated, and they questioned Tariq Nasheed about his affiliation with the guy.
Yeah.
Because the guy followed him on Twitter or something like that. Griff, I'm not even going to talk about what happened with Professor Griff, but they were waiting at his house too because he took a picture with the guy. The guy showed up in one of his lectures and took a picture with him, Micah.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but what happened in that particular situation, people was afraid to mention his name.
Yeah.
You know, you can't. So here's a man who decided to take one for the team. He was triggered enough to take one for the team. And as we see here, right, because I stopped watching it because I don't, at this point, you know, it already looks like it's to the point where he's already deceased, or his body's in arrest right now.
Yeah, he can't. He's at a state right now where he can't really do anything. And I know a lot of the commentary around this was, well, first of all, the amount of people that was involved, also the amount of people that was around just watching it, and nobody really intervened to do anything. You see Buddy right here smiling and laughing.
Well, this is just another day at the office.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, but it's you know, from my understanding, there are at least 6 body cam videos. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 actually, 8 body cam videos in total of the officers who was involved in this. I will put this link in the description. The CNN article is talking about in the beginning of the video. I keep missing it, but it's saying one of the officers appears to shove a white material in Brooks's mouth, and another holds Brooks by the throat. So that happened like toward the beginning of the video. And
why
then
taking his clothes off?
Good, right.
And he looks limp.
Yeah, he at this point he's totally incapacitated. He's limp. He can't do anything. Remember, he's already restrained. He's already handcuffed, and they've beaten him so bad right now. He's not fighting back. He's past the point of even thinking about fighting back, and so everything is past excessive.
Well, they started beating the man as soon as they got him in the room. I mean, it was off camera, but you could see the officer's hand pumping back and forth.
Right.
So, you know, for the last at least 10 minutes of the discussion we've been having, 10, 12 minutes of the discussion we've been having, the man has been basically getting beaten on the video, and there's no telling how much time is actually passing because of the blackouts.
Right.
But I don't, because this is like on a couple different levels for me, because one, it reminds me of a situation I went through in the military. And so, you know, I'm thinking about it on that level and having an experience that's not as brutal, clearly, but is in a similar nature, where I was the only black male in a room filled with white dudes, and I was having all of my rights violated and being brutalized.
Yeah.
So, but you're looking at it, and now he is aware and he is fighting back, and that's the response. So, you know, to anybody that says, okay, well, why isn't anybody doing anything? You say, well, why would they? And I don't want to hear the comment about human nature. No, this is human nature.
Yeah,
like
yeah. This is definitely
like
human nature.
This is the group has decided that an outsider is not to be treated the same way you treat other members of the group. And
Yeah.
so the group has agreed that this is the way we're going to treat them. This is human nature at its finest on public display. And until we learn to accept this part of human nature as a community, we're never going to be able to do anything different or move any way differently, because we're going to be looking at each and every individual in that room and saying, well, why didn't you do something, without understanding that at this point there are no individuals in that room. There's a group of people doing what groups of people do to an outsider.
Yeah. It becomes the wolf pack, mentality, and I forget what they call it, but it's kind of like how riots start. And once the frenzy starts, the energy picks up and everybody puts in, or everybody is drawn to that. And before people think we're legitimizing or justifying it, no, we're just describing human nature.
Yeah.
And,
yes.
And then if you want to say subhuman nature, whatever, the bottom line is, those people, they don't see you, Black people, they don't see you as one of their own. And that's the biggest part. And too many Black people, we don't really, this is what I mean when I say we don't have it in us. Because other communities are a community. They're a nation. And when somebody, you tell somebody, I want to do something, I'm going to do something. Okay, well, become part of a nation. Build it, build. Be the nation. That's what you need to do. You need to be the nation. Because then as the nation, then you can be organized to the point where you can actually prevent this from happening. Not respond to it and react to it, but prevent this from happening. Because then they would have to think about the consequences of what happens if we harm a person of your nation. They don't have to worry about that with us. And so, and I really didn't want to see the part where he was dead limp. But I go back to, like I said, with the Michael Johnson situation, and there was others. There was another brother in Louisiana that took out like 4 cops right after the Alton Sterling situation. So,
what's the name of the brother that was on the run? Christopher Dorner.
Yeah, out in California.
Yeah.
And then we personally, I've seen us Black people look at that and call that man crazy.
Yeah.
Seeing what he saw every day. He was a military vet. He came home from a place where he saw the insurgencies and what happened overseas. And he comes home and looks at the injustices. And it's similar to a lot of what built the Deacons of Defense and the Deacons of Self-Defense in the southern states, because they went to war and they got to see what was going on over there. And then they came back home and said, y'all not going to treat us like this. We're not going to allow you to treat us like this. We're going to take the same training and utilize it to protect ourselves from the country we went overseas to protect and preserve. Now we got to do that at home. Excuse me. When we actually, and the other 2 names are Ezell Ford and the son of my good brother, and elder Jonathan Crawford II, John Crawford III. Those are the 2 others that from that summer, I think in 2014, 2015, one of those summers. And all that added together is what, the protests Michael Johnson had in regards to his response. But the fact that we cower away when we think the heat might hit us is one of the biggest reasons they can still do it. And I know what I would want to do, but I also know it would be in vain.
Yeah. Because you would be just blowing off your steam.
Well, it would be a hashtag. It would be people talking about that's messed up. my life is worth more than a hashtag, and that's messed up.
Yeah, I don't want.
The people that depend on me is worth more than that, because, and I've seen people getting a rage and passionate rage. And, yeah, I'm not gonna do this. You're not gonna do that. Tell me what you're gonna do.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, tell me what you're gonna do. Yeah,
yeah. It's I know for me, when I saw this, I was like, all right, here we go again. But it ain't the same here we go again, because also we're coming directly off the heels of Daniel Penny and the verdict with Daniel Penny.
And I even seen black people defending that.
Yeah, I did too. There's a lot of people defending that Daniel Penny situation, which is crazy. But
New Yorkers defending that.
Yeah, well, there were black people on that train defending it, and not I ain't gonna get into that, but yeah, there were black people on the train defending that. But it's like this story, like the Daniel Penny story, it's out in the public, but it hasn't been sensationalized. And I think that's interesting that these last two stories have been in the public. And if you've been paying attention to the right media sources, then you know what's going on. But this story, like the Daniel Penny, majority of Black America has no idea that this has happened. So I do think that's interesting that that's happened. The sensationalization of these stories, that usually what happen. Get into the, not just the because they are in mainstream news cycles, but I'm not sure if it's being hyped up in the news or being shown to us like every 5 seconds like it normally would. And so, I mean, that's interesting to me that that's not happening.
I think it's a product of the cycle. It's not like stuff wasn't happening before the 60s and then stuff stopped happening after the 60s.
Right.
People lose interest. They get burned out from looking at it. Media agencies lose interest. I think about it in that sense. For the last roughly 10 years, it's been every summer.
Yeah.
Like summer blockbuster movies. Every summer, there's been an explosion. And people have gotten desensitized from it. News agencies aren't getting the same ratings that they were getting before by covering it. Black people have pretty much used every play in the playbook over and over and over again, and they haven't even bothered to update the playbook at all. And so now it's time for us to pretend like things got better for the next 30, 40 years. And then when it pops back up, it's going to catch traction again. And everybody, then you're going to have our grandkids saying we're not our grandparents. Yeah. And that whole thing is going to start all up again. So I see it as just a natural part of the cycle. But I really want to hit in on the fact that when these things happen, what you're seeing is human nature revealing itself. Like, I don't think that can be overstated. The fact that anybody that's been in a large group setting knows the power of being in that group setting. When the group fires off, that energy, we've even had some people that we've worked with talk about how they took their children to rallies and other social justice type situations. And when the energy kicked off, their children kicked off with it, from being on the sidelines to jumping off into it.
Yeah.
And that energy that is human nature. That is why Black folk, we should understand this well. It's a common trope. When Black folks see the crowd running, we don't even know what they're running for. We run too. That's human nature. And for as much as we like to talk about white people love going against the grain, that's only in movies. In real life, they run too. And so that's what you're seeing. So I don't think people understand what they're asking when they tell somebody, or when they ask, why didn't you step up and stop it? You don't even realize what you're asking for. How many situations have you been in that you knew was messed up, that you did not step up and stop it? And you go back later and you say, why didn't I step up and stop it? It's very strong individuals. They are out there, but they are not common. These are not regular people that can be in the face of something like that and say boom. And so, in my opinion, instead of villainizing these individuals, we should villainize the whole culture that allows it to happen. All of them are the problem, not as individuals, as a collective. And everybody that's a part of that group is the problem. But guess what? A part of that group is also a part of American society. So everybody that's a part of American society is also the problem. Guess what, black folk? We got to raise our hand too. We're all a part of the problem. And so then it becomes, how do we create people that can resist those urges? Well, now that's a productive conversation. But before we get there, can you, as somebody that can't resist, teach somebody how to resist?
Yeah. Well, so if we're going down that lane, now we got to talk about being better people. Discipline, structure, patience, understanding, like actually taking that extra step to be better, you know, in your everyday life, whether you're at home in your professional setting with family, friends, loved ones, like being an actual good person, because now we're talking about creating healthy families, and then creating healthy families, hopefully reproducing healthy people that can create a healthy neighborhood, that can create a healthy community, and so on and so on and so on and so on. So now we're talking about really digging deep and being better people as black people, being a better version of black Americans. But that's a on the scale that we need. The majority of black America, the same amount of people that vote for Kamala, gonna have to do that.
Good luck with that.
But that's right, and I agree with you. But that's the thing: if Black America is going to change, if we don't want these things that just happened to Robert Brooks, if we don't want this to happen again, the same amount of black folk that voted for Kamala gonna have to get on board and be better black people for black people.
You know what's a good example of what we just saw, and it wasn't even a real prison. It was the Stanford prison experiment. Because you saw damn near the same thing happen. Like, I think if that experiment would have went more than 5 days, you probably would have saw something close, because that's where it was angling towards, because the abuses got deeper each day. People needed years of psychiatric treatment to recover from just being a part of that experiment. I think another aspect in terms of how we deal with this is systems. Like, we're going to go back to what Pat said, the system. If you create a system a certain way, it's generally going to generate a certain type of product. And if you foster, it's a reason why they call black neighborhoods concrete playgrounds. You create and generate certain situations and circumstances, and you're going to get those outcomes, those results, because that's what it's designed for. We live in a society full of social designers, spiritual designers. We call them social engineers, spiritual engineers, whatever, community engineers. They engineer the society that we live in. And Black lives don't matter. And I'm not, that's no pun intended. But when you're in jail, your life matters even less, because most people don't even think that happens often. That was just one set of videos that got out. Right. I've been reading stories over the last month about almost a dozen inmates who have been who have now deceased, that were in prison over the last month or so, just in the Philadelphia area, in this part of Pennsylvania, Jersey, and Delaware. So that's been popping up in the newspaper. And they don't even give the names. They just say 3 inmates died this week.
And that was at the Marcy Correctional Institute in New York, right? And so, speaking on what you're talking about, a 2020, according to this CNN article that I'm reading about the incident with Robert Brooks, there was a 2022 Watchdog report about Marcy from the Correctional Association of New York, which provides independent oversight of prison in the state, notes multiple problems at the facility, including allegations of physical assault by staff on inmates and pervasive allegations of racial discrimination. It's saying around 80% of inmates surveyed in the report said they had been subjected to verbal, physical, or sexual abuse by staff. Inmates reported experiencing seemingly random assaults from the staff, as well as targeted attacks, meted out as punishment. And so also it's talking about, early in the report, is saying that at least three of the officers involved in Brooks's beating were previously accused of assault, and that's from court documents obtained by CNN. It's saying complaint alleges as another correctional officer beat a handcuffed inmate at the correctional facility. Trumby and Farina look, that's something else. But basically they're saying that a number of these officers that were involved in this incident with Robert Brooks have
previous history,
at least documented allegations of assaulting other inmates. So going on top of what you're talking about. And then they're saying, according to this Watchdog report, the information that they have turned from the inmates that are at Marcy, they are experiencing abuse, random abuse as well.
Of course.
Yeah.
And that's from the officers at in the correctional facility. So yeah.
So and this goes back to the image thing, right? Why it's so important that we impress upon young Black men that we have to improve our public image. Because when you create an image, like not even create an image, but play into an image that you're a thug, you're a bunch of N-words and stuff like that. When you play into that, you actually create, or you allow for a narrative that sees the world as a better place without you in it. You make it, you create, or you feed into a narrative that makes it easier to exterminate you. And so this is one of the things that and I talk about the music, and I get into it with brothers all the time, because they'll say, hey man, it's just, it's the art. No, bro, this art is killing us. You know what I'm saying? This is when I hear these young people rap and I hear them talk, they devalue themselves. It makes it easier for somebody to wipe you out. You actually are making their argument for them, or legitimizing the image for them. We already are at war. And that's what it means when people don't understand when we say we're at war. War has been declared on us. These are tactics of war. When you defame somebody's character and assassinate their character, that's a part of war. You, typically speaking, you launch media campaigns to destroy their image first, so that when you go in and invade them, or when you go in and take them down, that you already built up that capital, the intellectual capital to do so. And so when we talk about raising the standard of what our image is, that's why, because then you create a circumstance where the world becomes an ally to you. The world becomes an ally to you because the world will say, hey, these people carry themselves in such a way that there's a serious injustice that just took place. Not to the point where these people is so dismissive that we can just label it in a newspaper in a subheading, a subtopic on a page. 3 inmates were, killed at this particular, state prison, or this federal prison, or this county jail. And you don't even get a name. Like, they don't even tell us what your name is.
CPC. What I like, and I know what you're saying, but this sarcasm is gonna, drive home what you're saying, because it's like, nah, they just being who they are, because that's just what Black people say. Black people's excuse for the bad behavior, especially the bad behavior in the mainstream that Black people promote, it's no, they're just being themselves, and we're celebrating them just being themselves. And I'm like, so you're saying that grown adults being themselves are behaving like uncivilized people out here in this world, and it's okay. And they put it in music because they put it in music, put it in a song, and they can make some money from it. That it's okay because people don't understand how important the image of a people is. They don't get it. Everything you just said about the propaganda is so true. It's ridiculous that we don't get it. Once you are demonized, it's over for you.
They get it. They just don't care to apply it. Like, and you know that's me. I don't give black people no passes on nothing at this point. Because if we are as intelligent as we say we are, and we are the originators as we say we are, then hey, welcome to intelligent people. Don't get the benefit of the doubt when they behave stupidly. Only stupid people do. So if you're everything that we say we are, you don't get that. No, and we know they understand it because we see how protective they are of their image as an individual. The greatest thing you could do, the greatest harm you could do to an individual black person is disrespect their name, defame their name. Black people from all across walks of life in America, if you throw dirt on their name, they got a real issue with you. They understand it. All right. We also understand it on a political level. We understand that the reason why Russia's the bad people for invading Ukraine is because of the image that Russia has versus the image that you. Now imagine if America had put all over the TV that Ukraine was over there baking children in a big oven somewhere, right?
Right.
Like nobody would have had an issue with Russia going in there. You got to go in there to protect them people. If Russia was seen as the hero, but because they weren't, everybody had an issue with it. It's the same thing culturally. Go ahead, Joe.
But the deeper part of that is, all right, black people get mad when people say that black people don't care about black lives. Black people get pissed about that. But it's the how embedded the messaging is. Like everything both of you all are saying, is how embedded the messaging is, not just in non-white, non-black people, but black people as well. Because like you're saying, if the message for Ukraine would have been negative, would have been like, go get them. It's all good. Go get them. Same thing with bin Laden. Same thing with Gaddafi. The Americans was like, go get them. Now, our own image have been demonized, and we do that to ourselves. Go get them. Go get them. Because it's been internalized and ingrained and passed down for so long. Like we do it to ourselves as well. And that's
well, but it's the double consciousness is real, right?
Right.
In this sense, right? In this sense, especially. Black folk will turn around and be upset when black folk is demonized. But then when black folk are held accountable as a collective, they'll say something like, we're not a monolith.
Right. Right. Or everybody else get away with it, we should get away with it.
So we're playing it now. We're playing words with friends, right? Like we keep playing all of these wonderful word games because we don't want to deal with the issue. The issue is, as PC said, a failure to understand or a failure to address the image. Black men have a horrible image in America. It was created for us. We accepted it. Now we believe it and we propagate it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't want to hear this conversation about, well, it's not all of us. It's boom, boom, boom. It's boom, boom. Look, I'm going to use the Umar Johnson argument. Why are there any brothers in the selection that have this view that that's okay? There shouldn't be no brothers in that select. There should be no rappers rapping about trap. T.I. should not exist. He shouldn't.
True.
2 Chainz shouldn't exist. Who else? All of them. Future shouldn't exist. None of these guys should exist. The mere fact that they do it. Go ahead, Joe.
No, I'm gonna finish.
No, go ahead.
You're so right about what you're saying about these people, specifically the rappers that you were naming, because we're talking about people who pushed trap culture, right? And so, like, I'm riding down the street yesterday and I see a black-owned food truck. I think it's a taco truck. It was like something trapping and something about trapping, and then you selling tacos. And I constantly see black people create businesses, but create ideas, things around the concept and the ideas of trapping. So these rappers have directly helped to ingrain this idea that this trapping, which is selling drugs, is a part of our culture and everything that surrounds it. Even if you're not selling drugs yourself, the trap culture is a good culture and it's part of our black culture. So that's how you get people who never seen nothing close to the trap start a business or doing trap yoga, trap painting with some or trap tacos and stuff.
And here's the funny part about it, right? When we do it, trap is really interesting, right? Because when we do trap, it is a specific image that is being propagated. Ariana Grande is a trap artist. Stylistically, sonically, musically, her last few albums have been considered trap albums, or albums with trap elements. Nobody looks at Ariana Grande as a trap star.
Right? Yeah, damn sure. I didn't even know until you just said something.
Right.
Yeah. Like you can look it up. You can Google it right now. Ariana Grande's last few albums are considered trap albums because they have the music, the drum loops, and the way that she does her ad-libs, all of those things that are stylistically associated with trap. She gets to be trap without having to live that trap lifestyle. Black folk don't get to do that.
Yeah, that keeping it real shit. And it's the only genre of entertainment where you have to keep it real.
But you only have to keep it real if you are
right.
Yeah, right. She got trap music incorporated in her songs. They got a list of songs that's considered trap that that's her songs.
And you know, before we get to the whole thing of blaming the victim, which I'm pretty sure people are going, you know, because we can't elevate the thought in the conversation. But this is not about the brother that got taken down in the beginning of this video.
No, it's not. Thank you.
Nobody's defending that. Nobody's defending that brother. That brother was unjustly, deleted, and we're not validating any of that stuff. We're more so just, we're explaining some of the behaviors that came from that. We're talking about it being systemic. Yeah, and in addition to that, we're talking about how we can do things to change systemically the systems that are used to put harm to us, especially since we're not mounting any armies anytime soon. We're not, we'll spend more money on Christmas than we will putting together a force or a governing body that would protect us in situations like this. We don't necessarily, we only look to times like this when it comes to times like this. In other words, we're always after the fact. I remember being in a room in New York almost a decade ago and asking the questions. It was somebody had it was in regards to the same things we're talking about now with Trayvon Martin, Mike Brown, and all those cases. And the brother said the next time they do something like that, we need to do a transit strike, like back in 1960, 63, 64 in Birmingham. Excuse me, 53. I mean, was it 54? 54. And I turned to the brother and said, why wait? He had no answers. I said, why are we waiting for them to do it again? Inevitably, it's going to happen. But why do we wait for them to do it before we decide to act on anything? And the brother just threw his hands up and just like, oh, well. And that was it. And in other words, the gumption is not there.
Right.
To actually go in motion and to deal with or address what needs to be addressed. The nation building. And then afterwards, a sister came up to me with her son and asked me, what organization am I with? Am I 5%er? Am I part of the Guys on Earth? Am I a Hebrew? Am I, you know, and and I said, sister, I'm just me. I'm just me. That's it. I'm not with or affiliated with any of these groups. She looked so disappointed. She didn't even introduce her son to me. She just like turned around and just walked away. And I mean, she was in the room when we had the conversation. I guess me driving that point home, she probably thought I had an army behind me. I'm like, that's the problem. When you start having real conversations, people start realizing that this shit is real. And people can say what they want. Nobody wants to be one of the ones that the government that says, you know what, I'm coming for you.
Right,
Nobody wants to be that person. The one of the reasons you see so many people putting these videos up is because they're hoping to trigger somebody else to do the work that they're afraid to do. Mm-hmm. And so they'll say things, and people are very manipulative with their language and their words, and they're very good at trying to shame you into position to make a move or some of that, but they don't want to leave their comfortable home. Some people are living in a damn trailer park right now, very comfortable, too comfortable to say, you know what, I'm ready to risk it all. Some people have a job sweeping out a barbershop closet or hallway, and they say, I'm not risking all of this for that. And and so they try to tug at somebody else's emotional heartstrings. And it does get to some people, as we just illustrated, and we talked about them earlier. But at the same time, those people died in vain. Their sacrifice went in vain. People wouldn't even put up money for a trust fund or whatever for Micah Johnson. I think there was an attempt for GoFundMe for him, for his family. It was like radioactive.
But that's the dangers of that trap culture, that trap mindset. I think the second hip hop artist, I believe, if I'm correct, the second hip hop artist to talk about the trap on track, on wax, was Big Boy from Outkast. First, I think, was Cujo Goody from Goody Mob. But when they both talked about it, as this is not something you want to get in, because Big Boy was like, yeah, you in the trap, but now you are just that, trapped. Mm-hmm. And that's what we are. We are trapped. And because one of the most revolutionary things that we can do right now is start healthy families, build healthy communities, because we know what we want to do, but we already know that we'll be by ourselves and there will be no great outcome from that. So in my opinion, one of the next best things we could do is be an upstanding Black person, get with another upstanding Black person and start a family, a healthy family, reproduce some healthy children, and keep that cycle going.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that. I think even to address potential elements of pushback to what PC said, we understand white people are going to feel the way white people are going to feel about Black folk. Like, we get that. The idea is not to give white folk ammo. That's the idea, because one of the things we do have to accept is that, unfortunately, this is again also human nature. you're not in control fully of your image, but you do have to acknowledge what your image is and do your best not to play into it. Going into the system, for all you black males that think that going into the system is what it is, and for all you black girls that can't wait to experience prison love, you know, and I know that some of y'all will say that nobody's looking for that. No, that's a lie. Some of y'all are absolutely looking for that. And others of you that are not looking for it are open to it, which means that you're still kind of a part of that. You're like the white guys outside the room. Yeah, you weren't in the room doing it, but you was outside taking your feel of it. So, but when you go into the system, you lose your humanity. That's the truth of it. They no longer see you as human. And so now when things like this happen, there are going to be large sections of society that are going to say he deserved it. He earned it. I don't know what happened, but it doesn't matter. He shouldn't have been in that environment to begin with. And our responsibility as responsible adults is to understand that, acknowledge that, and do what we can to not put ourselves in those situations where they can say that. And so, and that also means cleaning up everything about how we do. Like, we got to understand, we say this all the time, we're not a natural people. So we can't do what seems natural. We got to be counterintuitive with how we progress in the world until we create an environment where we can self-express in beneficial ways. Right now, we're not creating our environment. We haven't created this world. We've created nothing about it. So we got to move counterintuitively. We've got to move in an unnatural way. That means black people, you do unfortunately have to be overly concerned with the image you're projecting to the world. Because if that image confirms the biases of those people that don't like you, well, you got to understand there are a lot of those people. There are more of those people in power than there are of any of the other kinds of people. So when something happens to you because you have no power, you're going to be looking for those people with power to do something about it. But since your image has confirmed their bias against you, they're not going to do anything about it, because a part of that bias they have is also you deserve whatever it is you got because you're this type of human being. And so we got to understand that, be mature about it, be responsible with it, and understand that it exists, and we got to move a certain way because of it.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. And it's like we haven't moved past what Ida B. Wells has done, because when you're saying that, you made me think about how her work helped bring light to the lynchings that was happening in the South during her lifetime. And before she brought the light to the lynchings, the idea was those black people deserve what was happening to them because they had to be criminals, because why would they just arbitrarily just do that to black people? Until Ida B. Wells did her investigation and her research and put the information out and showed that, hey, these people are being terrorized, period. They haven't done anything, they're being terrorized. And so Ida B. Wells brought awareness to what was going on. I can't tell you how many countless conversations I've had with people who are stuck at just bringing awareness, because that mindset and that ideas can't, and that imagination can't go past, we need to bring awareness, but also they have no idea what to do. And that's why I'm like, we're not encouraging anybody to pick up any arms and go out in the streets and do anything stupid. You're going to be by yourself, and you're going to end up on a t-shirt, and that's about it. And and in 6 months, everybody's going to forget about you, and it's going to be all in vain. And there only going to be people like us that bring your name up and cut in podcasts like this. So don't do that. But what's the most revolutionary thing that black people can do for ourselves to strengthen ourselves? That viral video that went out for Dr. George C. Frazier, that's what he was talking about, building that family. Like, as much as we talk about the black family, as far as not want Black America, that the sections of Black America talk about not wanting a family, you have If you look at sectors of the black manosphere, you have a whole lot of black men that don't want to get married, got a whole lot of black women that don't want to get married, but everybody still want to make babies. Everybody wants babies, but nobody wants to get married. If you don't have that, when something like this happens to Robert Brooks, there is no protection. There is no repercussions. As far as we know for right now, all the information that's come out, none of these people who are involved in this have been arrested thus far. No kind of punishment, no nothing. They still doing that thing. And they have this on their record. Plus, some of them have a history of assault on their record. So that lets you know that they don't respect us. They don't have to respect us.
Man, they keep cleaning out prisons. It was just they got a sting operation going on right here in Pennsylvania. No, excuse me, right in Georgia. They got a sting operation. And they got one going on here too, where they just keep uprooting the security guards, the COs. And a brother of mine went to college with, I bumped into him a few months ago. And he told me, he said, a lot of these guys are, this not to change the subject, he said, but a lot of the guys in prison, they're getting their girlfriends to apply to jobs as COs. So that's why a lot of the contraband stuff is getting in. But in addition to that, the whole system is corrupt. It's built like a plantation. On plantations, black people didn't have rights. When you go to prison, your rights are stripped. Your right as a citizen, as a human being, is stripped from you. The second you go to jail, it's literally the 13th Amendment. Right. So when we look at these circumstances, we have to protect the image first and foremost. And yes, there are elements that are out there, and we don't control the media, but we do have access to social media. We can take some ownership over our own image. There's a lot of things I see now, the ignorance that I see now, that's the stuff we're doing voluntarily.
Yep.
We like N-word culture. I'm watching my language. We like N-word culture because it has no standards.
Yep.
And because it has no standards, that means anything goes. And as soon as you apply standards, you're no longer talking N-word culture. Now you're white. No. We have to establish what black culture is. And in terms of our behaviors, actions, the consequences, the violations, hey, we will kick you, we will excommunicate you from the culture.
Bruh, you just think about what you done. You know what you just said. To be a black person with some damn sense is equal to being white.
So the assertion, the shaming of you think you're better than me, and to bring you back down here to N-word culture, low vibrating culture, is that's the framework that's used. And you know, we talked about it a few months ago. I think Pat brought it up. And it's just like instinctively, why are we so perpetually trying to always adhere to the lower frequencies, the lower performing versions of our culture? Why do we always want to be cool with the drug dealers? Why do we always want to be cool with the streets? Why do we always want to be hip and jive with those who are functioning from a place that are a low moral substance? You know, and I'm cool with everybody in my neighborhood that I can be, right? But at the same time, they know there's a certain place of respect that I require. You know, I'm not going there. You can't get me to do this. You can't get me to do that because this is my standard. And you can't get me to respond to anything below my standard. My standard is save lives. So I'm not going to, to lower my standards in terms of how I deal with people. When I talk to brothers, and I talk to a lot of brothers that are just coming home from jails, juvenile lifers and so forth. They are just coming home, spent 40, 50 years in jail and prison. I talk to those brothers every day. I see them at work every day. I don't talk to them like, yo, bro, blah, blah, blah. Hey, brother, how you doing? Glad to meet you. Okay, let's, and let's elevate it. Most of them come out elevated, ready to do something. So, I'm not going to speak on why they were there. But this has got to be about something we can do, we can handle. Because I'm not protesting anymore.
What?
Police assaults or this, that, and the other.
You can go to the gym and do that.
But until I see the collective of Black people who are not just going to be out here with fake outrage, because let's be clear about something else too. Don't nobody really care that that brother just got taken out. Maybe his family.
Bruh. That's why I go back to Black people get mad when they are asked, do Black people care about Black lives? Because everybody know the answer.
Right. So we care more about seeking the details in celebrity cases. We care more about the fact that a celebrity couple, a Black celebrity couple, because these people ain't celebrities nowhere else, whether or not, who's cheating with who or who's responsible for this breakup. We care more about stuff like that than we actually do about writing our shit.
Yeah.
Getting our shit, lining ourselves up so that the Jewish community has a saying, never again. Meaning they'll never, and this is based on the Holocaust thing, right? And I believe it was based in mostly saying that never again will they accept blame, or never again will they allow somebody to violate them. We have to come to a place where we're organized to a point as a people collectively that we never again. There's going to be a consequence for this. During COVID, when first happened, they taught isolation. You still had mass funerals in the Jewish community, mass gatherings. And when the mayor of New York came out and spoke out against it, the power of that community made him apologize for addressing them during a damn global pandemic. That's what nation build. That's what a nation looks like. It's not just about a bunch of people, wearing locks and wearing do-rags or,
smelling like shea butter.
Putting it right. It's not that.
No.
It's not what is really nation building is really about is being on one accord with your people. A standard of living, standards of how people treat you and how you treat each other. Your moral ways and your folk ways. And those things are with determination building. So that's why when we see stuff like this, my response is not going to be, oh, let's jump off the porch.
No.
A, B, and C. My response is going to be, where's your nation at? That's my question. Where's your nation? Because even Kyrie Irving had a nation. It helped him change some things with his ordeal. It didn't help much, but it was something. It was a response. We need a cohesive thing that we're putting together that represents the standard and how we're going to allow people to treat us and how we treat each other.
Yeah. Well, the latter is the most important, I think, because we allow others to treat us the way they treat us because we don't, that's that vacant esteem that we have. Because Black people, we have documented history of Black people in America not operating the way we operate today. Not on like a mass scale. We're not saying like people never did, but not on a mass scale like this. We have more self-pride, more esteem as a group, more individual and group esteem in the past. It's been beaten out of us. It's been taken out of us. And so now, because that esteem for self, that love for self, that care for self for Black people isn't there, going back to what I'm keep saying, Black lives don't matter to enough of Black people like it should. And Black lives don't matter to you if you just get mad that something happened, rant for a couple weeks, and then go back to your everyday life. Black lives don't matter to you. You just mad. You just an emotional person. Black lives matter when you actually get up and do some kind of personal and communal change. If you're making some type of betterment.
Wait a minute, because you said rant for a couple weeks, bro. We don't make it through a 24-hour cycle.
Well, you know, I mean,
cycle to rant.
You know,
ahead, bro. I know what you meant.
They'll rant in public for like a week, but at the house they be trying to be tough and stuff. But you know, I'm mad at this and I'm mad at that. All right, well, what you gonna do about it? Well, it ain't nothing we can really do. Well, shut up. Shut up. But it's like this is another reason why I want to do this video. I want to put this in your faces again. Yes. You know, we not the ones who promote the trauma porn, but put this in your face again. What you gonna do? What are we gonna do? Get your life together, get your personal life together, get your relationships together, get your family together, get your community together. That's how we get stronger. That's how we make ourselves more powerful, being able to defend ourselves better. This is within the last month, we've talked about 2 Black men being taken out by white people. One, a white vigilante, another, a group of white cops. So this is a challenge to the viewers. It's a challenge to us, the 3 of us. Challenge to all. What you gonna do about it? Hey, remember, go ahead and go over to fatlifestation.com. Go ahead and go before I get mad. If you don't go right now, I'm gonna be mad. And remember, you can support all of us in the description, thepax.org. Go check it out. I'm telling you, there's a whole lot of good information. You're gonna be on PAX. Or you're going to be on thepax.org for a long time, especially if you really like a lot of information. Look, Pat put a lot of work in that website of researching the information. Y'all think I'm playing. Y'all think I'm just saying this to say this because he on the screen right here. PC can attest. The amount of work that Pat put into this website to stock it with a lot of information for Black people is free historical information and resources for Black people, and not just in the historical sense, but political, economic, all this information that's on thepax.org. Go check it out, plus the codes of conduct. Y'all know to check out ontheshoulders1.com. Once again, all the links to support us is in the description, and I will put a link to the other body cam videos. This is from Letitia James, New York State Attorney General website page, the New York State Attorney General page, the other body cam videos for this, and I also put this link for the CNN article about what happened to Robert Brooks. But yeah, what we gonna do? What is we gonna do? Hey man, as always, I love y'all. Y'all make sure y'all catch the next video coming up. Well, actually, go check PC out first, then check my comeback. Put this, pause this, go check PC and come back. Cause hey man, it's Friday anyway, man. Go ahead and check us out. Holla at y'all.